Guys, the story is the same every year in fantasy football as we head into these later weeks down the stretch, making the playoff runs, and then into playoffs, league winners emerge out of nowhere. Unfortunately, sometimes there's a crazy injury, sometimes there's a backfield takeover, whatever it is, league winners come out of nowhere. So heading into week 10, fantasy football, here are the best players to stash. And we will begin with Blake Corum. Blake Corum, season high 13 rush attempts. In week 9, we look at Kyren Williams. He had 25, so a bit of a 1/3, 2/3 in terms of the carries there favoring Kyren Williams. But the carries, the snaps, which again, 1/3, 2/3, they don't really paint the entire picture here. When you look at the game log, and maybe, dare I say, watch the game, it is a true drive-by-drive alternating running back by committee here for the Rams, where Kyren starts, next drive comes Corum, next drive comes Kyren. It literally is 1-1-1-1. If some of these Corum drives were longer, whatever, that opportunity split really is closer to 50-50. 2/3, 1/3 feels like a big gap, but you got to remember, right? Let's just make it easy, okay? You know what? Let's use the actual numbers. 13 carries for Blake, 25 for Williams. Say one more, okay? One of Kyren's carries went to Blake. Now it's 13-24. We'll keep doing that. 14-23. 15-22. 16-21. All of a sudden, 16-21, right? And that's if like one or two drives, 17-20. 17 opportunities to 20 opportunities is a 50-50 split, in my opinion, right? And it's just, and that was only like 4 or 5 touches going the opposite way, a longer drive here, a longer drive there. So, moral of the story, Blake Corum absolutely must be rostered. He's only rostered in 16% of leagues. He needs to be rostered in every single league. That this should say 100%. If you have Kyren, you need to go trade for Blake Corum. And that's it. The strength of schedule, as you can see, speaking of thirds, not too great according to Fantasy Pros for the Rams running backs. With that being said, the offense is elite. That is how you overcome a, quote, bad schedule, by getting scoring opportunities. All right, moving along, Bhayshul Tuten. His roster percentage jumped up about 10% from last week, after this good week 9 performance. I said with Bhayshul Tuten all along, the magic number for him is 10 opportunities. In week 2, 10 opportunities, scored 14.4 points. In week 9, 10 opportunities. Look at that. In the end zone again, 9.1 points. Now, Travis Etienne had a season high in usage. Let's take a look. 27 total opportunities, 22 carries, both season high on the year. And honestly, he's not been so bad. Like, Etienne's having a very nice year. Very just solid running back. Okay? The schedule's not so great. At Houston, Chargers, Arizona, not great. Then you get Tennessee. That's cool in week 13. But, looking at the strength of schedule tool, where are we? No, more middle of the road than I would expect, actually, for Jacksonville here. 3-star schedule, same as the Rams, but more middle of the road. My point here is, this man, Travis Etienne, was down 5 times at the 1-yard line. He's been doing this. He's been doing this since as long as I can remember he's been in the league. Like I said, signed jerseys right there. Big fan of the guy. With that being said, he struggles on the goal line. He struggles inside the 5. He struggles inside the 10. That's why Tank Bigsby was always relevant. Whenever Tank Bigsby had a relevant week, he was plunging in the end zone in David Montgomery style, okay? Last week, Etienne takes him down to the 3, then down to the 1, then stays at the 1. Who comes in on 4th down? Bhayshul Tuten. Runs it right in very easily, basically untouched, okay? Now, you could say the old, I loosened it for you, right? Like, when my girlfriend can't open a jar of peanut butter, and then I just come in. Yeah, she loosened it, right? I get it. Maybe that's Etienne, okay? And maybe Tuten is the one opening it. You guys get what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, I opened it, and Tuten scored the touchdown, okay? So, the scoring chances, the red zone roll, I think they could go to Tuten. We saw him get 1 target, nothing crazy. What did Etienne have? 5. Again, it's just a very high-end handcuff. Etienne has been known to get a little banged up in his career. He plays through it, but he gets a little banged up. So Tuten, not as high priority as Corum, but definitely should be owned. One guy I would kind of prioritize in that Corum level, even still, with Breece Hall on the Jets. In fact, even more so with Breece Hall still on the Jets, is Isaiah Davis. Breece Hall does not want to be on the Jets. I don't care what anybody says. He doesn't want to be on the Jets. Now, with that being said, Isaiah Davis could have a chance here if Breece Hall were to magically get injured. And I say that because, maybe a hamstring injury pops up and it's not exactly the most serious thing in the world, but he misses a couple games if the Jets are 1-11, right? Isaiah Davis right into RB2 territory, because when teams are tanking, not really trying super hard, the veterans who are established and really good, they don't have to try that hard. But this guy, Isaiah Davis, who wants to be on the team, wants to make a name for himself in the NFL, he's going to try really hard, all right? We see basically all over the board in this game log, just monster yards per carry here. This is last year, weeks 13 through 18. I'll read you his yards per carry. 4, 4, 4.8, 4, 11.7, 10.3. Now, only over 5 carries in one of those games, but when he gets the ball, he does really good things. We look at this year, before the bye, season high, guys, in 12 opportunities, got in the end zone, season high, 15 fantasy points. So a big thing about stashes is have we seen a flash of greatness, of fantasy football usability with Isaiah Davis? Absolutely. So I still think he should be rostered for sure. Would I rather roster Davis or Tuten? Probably Davis. If I were to order these 3 players, Corum, Tuten, and Davis, it would be Corum, Davis, and Tuten in order. This is a quick one. It is Brian Robinson. Here's where I'm at on Brian Robinson. You do not have to roster him on your team if you don't have McCaffrey, but you should not drop him. How does that make any sense? I'll explain. If this man is on your team, you need to do whatever you have to do. Call, text, letter, send a package, send an owl, whatever you got to do to the Christian McCaffrey manager and trade him for something. I don't even care if it's something of worth, right? And if you're not getting, a low-end flex wide receiver 4, RB4 back, top 40, top 38 at the position there, then just keep him. So that's where I'm at. But it's not I have Brian Robinson, I must keep him forever. No, if you can get some value back, you can send him. If you are a Christian McCaffrey owner, you should be all over that. Should be a very symbiotic relationship here between the McCaffrey owner that does not have Robinson and the owner that does have him. Robinson should be with the McCaffrey owner. Everyone can win in that situation. So just go ahead and make it happen. If you are the McCaffrey owner, if McCaffrey goes down, this man is a top 10 running back. It's not even close. Top 10 instantly. I don't care if he's playing Houston every single week, remainder of the season. Top 10. He, of the guys we've talked about, can't really rank him in this discussion because it's very unique to the owner. We'll continue. Luther Burden makes the list. I mean, we are 10 weeks into the season. We have not seen it yet. But going back to what I said before, we've seen the flashes. We've seen the flashes of greatness. Weeks 6 and 7. In week 6, 7.1 points, but 51 yards, 4 catches. That was the season high. Then in week 7, again, 11 yards per target, 22 yards per catch. Only caught one ball, right? But it's these deep shots kind of down the field. In week 3, we actually saw it come to fruition on those 3 targets, the flea flicker, over 100 yards, got the touchdown. I mean, at that point, I was ready. I'm okay, must roster, right? Then disappointed against Vegas. Then the bye week. Then Washington, actually pretty good, like I talked about. New Orleans, still fine for a guy playing 28% of snaps, right? And then against Baltimore was bad, concussion, missed last week. He's on waivers everywhere. He's 15% rostered. I think it's fair. If you have an empty bench spot, I really think that he should be a guy you're considering taking into this week with you just to see. The Giants are abysmal on every front on the defense. Then you get the Vikings, who are actually pretty good on the perimeter. But if Luther Burden kind of slides into the slot and does some of the gadget stuff, you could get some value there. Pittsburgh is awful. Philly is very similar to Minnesota. Green Bay, bad. Cleveland, you can't run on them, so you pass on them. Green Bay again. And then San Fran, easy. So the schedule, even though Fantasy Pros has, let me see, all the way down here in kind of the bottom 10, for Burden specifically in the slot, it is something interesting to me, for sure. And you might be saying okay, there's Lamade Zaccheaus, there's DJ Moore, there's Roma Dunze, whatever. Look, if Roma Dunze or excuse me, if DJ Moore were to kind of miss a game here, which is typical, could happen to anybody. If he were to miss a game, Luther Burden instantly flex value. We've just seen it with Colston Loveland. The Colston Loveland thing, you might use it as a negative for Luther Burden, where it's like, okay, another pass catcher here. No, it's a positive. It's the coach saying, okay, I'm willing to give this talented rookie work and opportunity. Go be great. And Colston Loveland is dominating. Now, Cole Kmet's coming back in week 10. We will see. But Luther Burden must be, in my opinion, rostered. Again, 15% of leagues. If it goes on 3, 4, 5 weeks here where it's nothing, right? We're in the middle of playoffs. Sure, maybe you drop him and we talk about it next year. But listen, out of the bye, like I said, it was good. And then he got injured. So let's just see. All right. If these snaps jump up to 40%, we could have something to talk about. Word. Moving on. Another guy now is Chimere Dike, and his roster percentage was around 50%. It's now at 36%. Only 3 targets last week. Only caught 1 pass, but on the kick returns, he housed one. All right. Got in the end zone, which was pretty awesome. And they're coming out of the bye. Rookies only get better, typically, out of the bye. It's very rare you're like, oh, rookie, here we go, into the bye, and then out of the bye, he's a worse player. It really doesn't happen. Calvin Ridley was a potential trade candidate for the Titans. DK has been by far, per catch, the most productive wide receiver for the Titans. And I think just coming out of the bye in week 11, even though it's Houston, I think we could see this jump back to kind of what we saw in week 8. 8 targets, 7 catches, 93 yards. The week before that, caught all 4 passes for 70 yards and a touchdown. Again, these names should sound like, nah, no way. Like, that's how they should sound. That's how they should sound. And you just got to look for the little flashes of greatness and pay zero fab, 0 time, 0 energy just to rush these guys and see. All right, so Chimere Dike coming out of the bye is interesting to me. Like I said, don't think the schedule is amazing. Again, bottom third here for Tennessee, according to Fantasy Pros. No big deal, just got to take the chance. We'll move on to QBs. I have 2 names. The first is JJ McCarthy. And the big reason for this is finally we'll use the strength of schedule tool appropriately. And JJ McCarthy is tied. Only 5-star schedule are JJ McCarthy and Jackson Dart. 2 best schedules rest of season for QBs. Now, JJ McCarthy is a bit of a meme lately. Okay. He's doing his best like Russell Wilson on social media. I don't know. Whatever. Don't care. Hasn't thrown for over 160 yards. Okay. Literally don't care, because here's what I care about. He's made 3 starts. He's played 3 full games. 23 fantasy points. We love that. 5 fantasy points. Not so good. And then 20 fantasy points. Pretty good. I mean, per game, it's pretty good. And then you get the easy schedule. Now, I'm actually convinced in week 10 that Baltimore is not as easy as a lot of people think it is. But Chicago, Green Bay, Seattle, their cornerbacks are stinky. Washington, Dallas, Giants, Detroit, who he just dropped 20 on. There's a lot to like here. The number one factor, in my opinion, for rookie quarterback success is the surrounding weapons, the offensive environment, the coaching staff. Kevin O'Connell. I don't know if there's another coach I want with a rookie QB for my fantasy team. Justin Jefferson, need I say more? Jordan Addison, need I say more? TJ Hawkinson, of course I'm going to mention him. He's great for real life, okay? Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason when he feels like producing, things like that. The O-line is okay. There's a lot to like here. He doesn't need to throw for 400 yards when he's rushing 5 times a game, 9 times a game, when he's scoring 2 rushing touchdowns in 3 games for fantasy football purposes. I really like J.J. McCarthy as a stash. Honestly, in some Superflex leagues, he might be on waivers. I think that's a mistake. In single QB, he's definitely on waivers. If you have a bye coming up, I would stash him because, more percentage than not, more times than not, the matchup's going to be good unless it's week 13 at Seattle. I'm not loving that, but you never know. Okay. And that's where we're at with McCarthy. So I like it for fantasy. This one is heinous. This next one is a little crazy. It is Shedeur Sanders. This man is going to start for the Browns at some point. He's going to start for the Browns at some point. He might get put in week 10. Seriously. They're doing the fake injury thing with him too. Apparently he has this back injury. He does not. He's good. He is going at some point to start for this team. I'm looking at the strength of schedule. Middle of the road, top half, top 45%. So whatever, doesn't really matter. Let's look at it ourselves. Jets, easy. Baltimore, supposedly easy, but let's just say okay. Vegas, easy. San Fran, easy. Tennessee, easy. Chicago, easy. Buffalo, not so easy. Pittsburgh, easy. So again, 80% of those games are good matchups. Listen, guy was projected to be a top 10 pick, if not a top 1, top 2 pick. Say what you want about him, whatever. I don't really have any opinions. Again, on this show, on this channel, you come here for fantasy points. That's what we're going to discuss. And looking at Dillon Gabriel, it's like, say what you want about Shedeur. He's a better QB than this guy. I'm sorry. He's better. And we've seen some okay performances, mainly week 5 against Minnesota, 16 points. Last week, 14 points before the bye in week 8. And then you had the 2 stinkers at Pittsburgh, then versus Miami. They're not great at all. Okay? I'm not trying to sell you on the Browns and their offensive weapons and their schemes or whatever, but in Superflex, okay, if you have 2 QBs, you need a sneaky guy off the waivers for the bye weeks. There's no QBs available. Maybe you play 2 QBs. Most of my leagues are 2 QB, different than Superflex, and there's 0 QBs on the waiver. Pick up Shedeur, wait till he's ruled out, okay, and go put him in your IR. Or just pick him up, have him be your 3rd QB, because there are worse things, worse people to stash. Oh, and then I lied. We have a 3rd QB. It is Tyrod Taylor. I don't think a lot of people realize how much of a week-to-week QB battle the Jets QB job is. I don't think many people care, actually. It's really what it is. I mean, if it was the Chiefs, right, or something like that, or the Vikings, we'd care. They don't care because it's the Jets. Cool. But Tyrod Taylor's out there on a lot of waiver wires, especially in Superflex 2 QB. It is literally week to week. Justin Fields was benched for Taylor. Then Taylor got injured. By the way, he played well, week 3. Then Taylor got injured. Okay? Or maybe that was week 4, whatever. He was playing all right. Okay, all I know is he was doing okay. Not great, doing his thing. Got injured. All right. Fields back in. Fields wins a game. And now we're where we are. That's where we are. Fields won against Cincinnati week 8. That's where we are. The coach has not announced the starter yet. I get that it's for this competitive advantage, right? According to the coach. What if he doesn't know yet? Like, what if he genuinely does not know yet? We don't know anything. What we know is we don't know who the QB is. And majority of people think it's Fields. It's probably Fields in week 10. I understand that. But against Cleveland, what if Myles Garrett has 7 sacks and they lose 31-0 against the Cleveland Browns? I don't think Fields is going to be the starter in week 11 if that's the case. Now, if you're under the impression that Justin Fields is going to come out against Cleveland and dominate at home, run for 80 yards, score twice through the air, once on the ground, win 40-35, like, okay, maybe that's your impression. Cool. I'm looking at the Fantasy Pros rest of season schedule, and the Jets 3rd best for QBs, 4-star, as close to JJ, as close to Dart as you can get. They got a great schedule. Cleveland, as I mentioned, then the Pats, Baltimore, Atlanta, Miami, Jacksonville, New Orleans, New England. New England there a couple times, but everything else pretty good. I think Taylor should be rostered in all Superflex 2 QB leagues when the waivers are dry for QB. We're going to send it back to the running back discussion real quick. Devin Neal is a name that really intrigues me. He's kind of like the New Orleans version of Isaiah Davis, where the team is awful. The lead RB, one day he wants to be there, one day he doesn't want to be there. The lead RB has an injury history. There's not much to love about rostering anybody on the offense, to be honest, but there'll be spike games. It reminds me a lot of that with Devin Neal. Devin Neal is the best running back in Kansas University history. He was very good in college. 3-down skill set. We look at the running back schedule, rest of season, and where are the Jets? Where are the Saints, I meant to say, because I knew where they were. 2nd best. Tied for 1st best, I guess you should say, with the Browns and the Pats. So the schedule is good. Tyler Shook looked capable. I'm not going to say he was better than Rattler. Looked capable. Didn't get a lot of looks yet. The schedule is amazing, as I mentioned. You could have low-end RB2 value if Kamara sits out, misses, is injured any games. Maybe he is, right? Devin Neal should be stashed. The next running back, and we're going deep on this show today. There's a lot of names, like we're talking about Shedeur Sanders, boys, and Tyrod Taylor. Next up, Phil Mafah. The Cowboys cut Malik Davis, I believe is his name. He was, hold on, the backup. Yeah, Malik Davis is waived by the Cowboys. Okay. Jaden Blue, healthy scratch in week 9. So who does that leave on the depth chart? Miles Sanders out for the year. Hunter Luepke, who's basically a fullback. And Phil Mafah, 6 feet tall, 234 pounds, bowling ball out of Clemson University. So he's 6 foot 234. Javonte, 5'10", 220. See what I'm saying? Okay. Of the running backs on the Cowboys, not named Javonte, Phil Mafah might have actually an impact. We saw Miles Sanders kind of be irrelevant. We saw Jaden Blue not be good enough to be on the NFL field yet, according to the Cowboys. He did have an awful fumble. Phil Mafah, with the amount of time this team is in the red zone, if anything were to happen to Javonte, for example, you would have Phil Mafah dominate the red zone snaps, and then most likely basically everything other than receiving, which would probably go to Luepke, okay? Or maybe Jaden Blue comes back up to do receiving work. But Phil Mafah would be the lead running back. He is rostered in 0. He is rostered in 0% of leagues. Javonte has had a fantastic season. He's ranked as a top 10 running back for me rest of season. If anything happens to Javonte, Phil Mafah is a 100% fab dump. It won't be Jaden Blue based on how the team views him. And I expect Phil Mafah to be an active running back come week 11. Those are I'm speaking kind of like certainly, but I'm a Javonte owner. I'm monitoring the handcuff situation pretty closely. And I'd be very surprised, like, if Mafah is not activated and serving as the backup in week 11. It seriously would really surprise me. All right, 2 more names. Another rookie here, Jaylin Lane. Jaylin Lane has 3 games this season with 50% plus snaps. He has seen 4 targets in all those games. We have Luke McCaffrey onto IR, I believe, if not out for the season. Yeah, so he's placed on injured reserve. Broken collarbone, but is now expected to miss the season. Luke McCaffrey wasn't doing a lot, but just looking at the targets, 1, 3, 3, 2, 1, 2. It's a couple targets a game. If they all went to Jaylin Lane, now we're talking about some games. Now we're talking about, 5 targets in like every game, and some reaching 10 targets maybe. So let's just monitor what happens here. Without Luke McCaffrey in week 9, 5 targets. Now, 2 of the last 3 games has those 5 targets, over 60% of snaps, and he's very good. He's a very, very good player, very good prospect. A lot of you Dynasty guys love Jaylin Lane. I'm not a Dynasty guy. I just listen to you and then tell my followers who's going to actually score fantasy points. It's kind of what I try to do, and that's what I'm trying to do right now. But yes, 2% rostered. He's a good name to keep an eye on. And then finally, guys, the last name of the show is Brenton Strange. Now, real quick, I wanted to look at the schedule for the Washington receivers. Yeah, top 3rd, nothing crazy, but looks like top 15, top 12 schedule here for the Washington receivers. Jaylin Lane. Okay, back to Brenton Strange. Let's look at his schedule for Jacksonville, and they're pretty good. They have a 4-star schedule, which no tight end has a 5-star schedule according to Fantasy Pros rest of season. And before Brenton Strange got hurt, in his last 2 healthy full games, 7 targets, 6 catches, over 45 yards in both of those games. Didn't get in the end zone. If he had, it would have been really good. We have Brian Thomas banged up. We have Travis Hunter out. We have Parker Washington and Jacoby Myers. They could probably use some weapons, and Brenton Strange has been a very good, reliable target for Lawrence. Even going back to, let me just see. Yeah, 2024, he had some very good games, if I remember correctly. This 12-target game here in Week 15, 11 catches versus the Jets. That one was pretty awesome. I'm actually not seeing that many incredible games. I thought there was more, but moral of the story is he is in a full-time role on this offense. When he comes back, he will be. 90% of snaps, 80% of snaps. They need him. The schedule's difficult for them, but not for tight ends. So I think that if you're someone who's hurting at the tight end position, it's definitely a really sneaky ad. So those are the stashes, guys, heading into Week 10 of fantasy. we've been doing well on these so far. So rewind the video, use the timestamps. Shout out my editor, Nick, for the timestamps. Guys, he puts a lot of work into them. Thank you, brother. Okay, good luck. Goodbye.